Hello, sophomores. It's good to see all of you, and I hope you're enjoying, those of you who are in person. I hope you're enjoying your in-person day. I'm Ms. Williams, and you already know Ms. Middleton, who you can probably see spotlighted here on the screen, and Mr. Almonte on the other side, and Ms. Dunn, who's also with us, who's sort of been controlling everything in the background. So the last time we met with you, uh-oh. Yeah, there we go. The last time we met with you, we talked a lot about sort of the basics of college admissions. We dispelled a bunch of myths for you that you discovered pretty early on were all false. And we introduced you to the application itself. But this time, this meeting, we want to turn our attention to something else, and that's the actual college part of the college application process. So today, we're going to think a little bit about getting to know yourself and finding the right fit. And like we said last time we met, hearing the word fit is something you will hear from us quite often. And we talk about that because we want for you, as you start to think about where you see yourself in your next school, to really think about what kinds of places fit your needs, right? So you're going to think about what kinds of schools fit your needs in terms of the academic program, or maybe if you're an athlete, how do they fit your needs for athletics? Do they fit your needs for social life? Some students are really excited about the idea of going to a college where they can participate in Greek life. Ultimately, we want you to think about what's important for you in both the academics and the social aspects of college. And so next fall, we're going to start asking you to think, when you're juniors, a little bit more about what's important to you, what you need to be successful and happy in an academic environment. And so today we are going to do something a little bit fun. You'll find that the college office, we really like game shows. The older, the better, the more fun. And so today we're going to play a little game called the college dating game. And I'm going to share my screen with you. And there you have it. That's what our theme song was when we came in. Okay, so I'm going to turn things over to Ms. Middleton and Mr. Almonte, who are going to give you the parameters. Oh, did we miss a screen? No. We're going to give you the parameters of what you're going to be looking out for. So everybody should have something to write with, because you're going to get a series of schools, descriptions, informations, and you're going to pick a school for yourself based on what you're hearing. So the characteristics you desire, what you're thinking about now, right? So maybe in 2 years, things are going to be very different for you. You'll have made new discoveries about yourself, but take notes on which things you learn about the schools today stand out, and choose one to be your top choice from the 7 you see. And then think about why that's your top choice.
Okay, I'm going to start us off on the considerations at the start of your college process. And what you see here is a pretty lengthy list of the different kind of criteria that you might start thinking about, like what attributes are going to be really important to me in my college process. As we go through the 7 schools, as we go through this presentation this morning, the 7 schools each highlight some things that are part of these categories. So first, let's talk a little bit about location and setting. At the start of your process, it might be really important for you, or it may not be really important for you, to think about how far away from home you're going to be. It might be important to think about whether it's going to be just a train ride away, or a 3 to 5 hour car drive, whether you're going to be fine getting on a plane, whether you'll be fine getting on an international flight, or maybe you just want to be a subway ride away. And we'll find students that will very often range from one to the other as they go through their process. I think a lot of the students that we are working with now, the juniors and seniors, are reflecting on their time that they've spent at home, and some are feeling a little bit more adventurous, and some are feeling that they really want to maintain that relationship with home, with location. And so that may affect the start of their process in terms of location. In terms of setting, I have students all the time who will initially say, Well, I'm a city person, so I definitely want to be in or outside of a city. And then they discover what it's like to have a campus. They discover what it's like when they start visiting schools, what it might mean to be in a little bit more of a rural setting, but with a really active campus life, a sense of community. You know, maybe there's a college town nearby. What do you need in a college town? Is it really just having your local coffee shop and a couple of restaurants? Or do you want something that's a little bit bigger than that? How big or small would that college town be? Does it give you access to community service activities and options? Maybe there's internships. Maybe it's a state capital that you're living in. Or do you want to be in or near a city? So these are some things that could flip-flop a little bit as you begin to think about places and as you begin to look at colleges overall. Oh, in terms of size is also an important factor for students. And I think initially, when we're talking with students, they very often say, well, I don't want something that's going to be as small as Berkeley Carroll. For high school, it feels great. For high school, it feels terrific to be at a school where you know everyone. But then by the time senior year rolls around, you might have interest in having a bit of a larger community. So we have seniors this year who are attending colleges or universities that are more than 30,000. And then we have seniors that are attending colleges that are less than 1,000. And so that's a big range in what you might think about. Students from BC can fare quite well in both settings. I think the fact that you've really had taken the opportunity to get to know teachers, you can speak to adults, you can navigate a bigger system if that's what you're looking for. No college you're looking at is going to be as small as Berkeley Carroll, but you might want to think a little bit about those relationships with faculty. How accessible are the faculty that you work with now? And is that a relationship that you want to continue to develop on the college side? Small colleges and large universities both have tremendous resources. So when we're thinking about things like how many classes do you have to offer and what access to research am I going to have, size is something that could matter, but you will have access to all of those things, whether the college or university is big or small. I'll talk a little bit about academics and then a little bit about the non-academic offerings before I pass it over to Mr. Almonte. In terms of academics, one of the first things that we do with you as juniors when we begin our initial meetings about college is we talk about the structure of the curriculum and the fact that when you get to college and when you're choosing your courses, you've actually got a lot of freedom. So most students don't know exactly what they want to major in. In fact, the statistic is that in the first couple of years of college, 2/3 of students change their minds. They have an idea of one major coming in or the idea of 5 majors coming in. They might be undecided. They might take their first course in a particular subject matter and fall in love. And that's the subject that they end up majoring in. So the academic choice, your major, very often, even if students say they're undecided, they have a few choices in mind, and that can help us to determine what kinds of schools. So whether it's a technical institute, whether it's a liberal arts college or a college of arts and sciences within a university, or if you're going for engineering or business or so forth. So initially in the process, sometimes people don't know exactly what they want to study. The structure of the curriculum becomes important too, because the flexibility and the freedom that you have might be something that really draws you into that college experience. And then in terms of the non-academic offerings, what are you excited about having around you on your campus? What kinds of activities are you interested in? What do you do? What do you anticipate you'll like to be doing on weekends and with your friends? Do you see yourself in a community where there's a tradition of homecoming and there's Division I sports? Do you see yourself someone who's very interested in Greek life or not at all interested in Greek life? The non-academic offerings can be anything from research and internships, which have academic connections, to things that you're doing that are purely out of fun. Do they have the affinity groups that you want to join? Are you feeling like the opportunities for you to be able to develop as a person are available? What are their career development opportunities? So thinking about those non-academic offerings, you may not know everything about them now, but these things will become important as you learn about the colleges and universities, not just the 7 that we'll introduce you to, but that menu of about 2,500 that are out there. Mr. Almonte?
And we're thinking about, your college search process or thinking about what college or university you might attend. We can't have that conversation without talking about cost and understanding what that might look like. when they say cost of attendance, it's tuition, but it's also housing and it's also your books. And, it's an overall comprehensive view of what it's going to cost year to year to attend an institution. So really understanding, every student's financial situation is completely different. And some colleges might be extremely affordable for some families, and other ones you might have to apply for financial aid. So really kind of navigating what that net price is going to be for your family that would have to pay the kind of stamp price of what it is that they're expecting you to pay, and also understanding what means are out there to make colleges affordable. So in thinking about financial aid and merit scholarships, a lot of times that those get blurred together, but they're very distinct, two different distinct things. And financial aid is going to be more need based. So based off of your family's financial situation, they're going to determine how much your family can pay, and then they're going to be able to provide a financial aid package that'll make that realistic. Understanding that different colleges will meet different percentages of need. So understanding that there are some schools that will meet 100% of demonstrated need. If your family needs that money, they will make that very realistic, while other ones might not. When I was in high school, I used to think that a public institution meant affordable and a private institution meant expensive. And then when I started working in admissions, I actually realized that it was quite the opposite, that there are a lot of private institutions out there that have so much money to help students fund their education. So those are just things to think about. And then thinking about merit scholarships or merit aid, if you are a really standout student, a leader in the community, top of your class, there are scholarships out there just based off of your academic profile and leadership that can make things very attainable. And understanding those things and understanding what the college offers in terms of funding and education are really important as well too. In terms of internships and research, I always think of them as more professional opportunities. So as Ms. Middleton was talking about the social dynamics of a college, and developing you as a person, I also think you have to think of a college that's going to develop you as a professional, and really understanding, what does this college offer in terms of experience that is going to help me develop my resume, so that the time that I leave, or the time that I'm applying for a job while I'm in college, I'm landing that dream position because I have a multifaceted portfolio. And really thinking about the types of internships that they offer. Are they paid or they're unpaid? Does the school have co-op? Is it a research institution, and are you able to do research at the undergraduate level or participate as a research assistant with your professor? Thinking about other opportunities like study abroad. There's so many different things that you can get involved with at a college with different offices that I would say are more based in professional experience. That can really be a deal breaker for you to understand where it is that you might be going, because there are some that do it quite well. Outcomes and thinking about your alumni network is really important as well too, because once you have an affiliation with your alma mater, it's kind of like, for some schools, it's kind of like a family, and the alumni network is very, very, very strong. So thinking about after you graduate, leaning into this alumni network for both social and professional opportunities is something that's always amazing. I have a lot of friends that have gone to Penn State. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so there's always social gatherings. They always watch the football games at different locations and venues around New York City. But at the same time, it's very easy for them to land jobs because there's so many Penn State alumni that are working in different organizations, and that are always willing to, have conversations or extend the hand, or let recent alumni know of different job opportunities that are happening all through a specific network. And lots of schools are like that. I used to work at Lehigh University, which had a very strong alumni network. And a lot of times that can be a real big difference for your post-grad experience, with just connecting with people that went to your respective institution, or a lot of times can help you get a job. And finally, I would say one of the most important ones is diversity. Is what does your school look like? And diversity in every sense of the word. And understanding that a lot of schools are going to be very different in terms of geographic diversity, but also racial and ethnic diversity. For a lot of small liberal arts colleges are going to be primarily white institutions, but understanding if you are a student of color, what that might look like for you, and understanding every school has data that they show that basically breaks down the percentages of students that identify for each race and each ethnicity. But also taking it, a step farther and understanding, like, do you want to go to a school that has all 50 states represented? Do you want to go to a school that has a large international population? There are certain schools that have a very stark gender breakdown, and it might be 50-50, and other schools might be 70%, or 60% male and 40% female. So really understanding the demographics of your school and what your, professional and social experiences at the school are going to be like based off of diversity. Because understanding that the more different that your school is, there's different perspectives that happen in the social and learning aspects of your school.
Thank you, Mr. Almonte and Ms. Middleton. And I think now we are ready to find your fit, to find your dating game match. Ms. Middleton, I think you're up first.
So I'll start with school number 1, 1,600 students with Division I sports and a spirited campus in a college town. This liberal arts college is ideal for learning's sake, known as the Dartmouth of the South. Generous financial aid meets full need and offers merit scholarships, largest studies in biology, psychology, political science, and theater. And the honor code is important, as well as interdisciplinary, pre-professional, and international programs. Student life includes eating houses as well as Greek life. We don't want you to guess which school this is. We want you to pick out some of the criteria that you think might be important to you and figure out which of these schools is going to be the best fit for you.
And you might find that multiple of these schools are a good match. And don't be afraid of seeing schools that may seem very different, also fitting all the things that you like, but you're going to pick one. And we just want to give you a little bit of a hint about what the school looks like. So these are some very lovely photos of the campus of school number 1.
School number 2 is a liberal arts college. It enrolls 2,000 undergraduates, and its western location features a medium-sized city. Students can choose from 70 different majors, though the college is known for its focus on intensive and experiential learning. So experiential learning means that they're really going to kind of put you out there, and you'll be in the field and doing field work, and more hands-on learning. With students taking one course at a time over 3.5 weeks. So that's pretty unique to take one course at a time and really kind of focus and have tunnel vision on one thing that you're doing at a time. Many students share a thirst for outdoor education and are an active community engaged to advance social justice and sustainability. Plus, they have their own farm.
Ooh. And that's actually a view of the admissions office at this school. And I wonder if you can guess where we are, or if it seems appealing to you. School number 3 has 18,000 undergrads and 8,000 grads on a quote unquote real campus in a major city. This university has long been known for its high quality co-op program, which places students in 2 to 3 high profile and often paid internships throughout the world. It offers the entire range of academics, including arts and sciences, engineering, architecture, business, computer science, and criminology, and merit plus Division I athletic scholarships. And the co-op program has been really popular with a lot of Berkeley Carroll students who have gone off to this university and universities who offer similar programs like it.
School number 4, with just over 6,500 undergrads and 3,500 grads. This is more of a medium-sized place. It has an open curriculum, so not a lot of requirements in terms of what you need to take to satisfy general curricular requirements. They encourage and support love of learning. Over 15 languages are taught, and at least a third will double major. Engineering, music, and the sciences are strong. This school has both a conservatory and a med school. Money is available for pre-med summer research. Their entrepreneurship program, and you'll hear a lot about entrepreneurship on college campuses now too. This program allows students to take a 5th year free in an area outside of their undergraduate majors. Division III athletics and over 250 organizations on campus.
And when you visit college campuses, you'll often see the flags that represent all of the international students who attend that university or college.
School number 5 is located just over an hour's drive from LA, so not too shabby, and 2 from San Diego. A beautiful campus with an Eastern feel and a college town that offers easy access to the outdoors. The school enrolls around 2,400 students and featuring over 40 courses of study with strengths in the pre-professional fields, as well as art, English, music, and political science. Also supports a unique interdisciplinary program through a self-designed major. D3 programs, so Division III programs, some are nationally ranked, and they offer merit, academic, and talent scholarships.
Ooh.
Pretty.
Mm-hmm.
School number 6, 5,800 students in a city campus. About 30% of the students come from in-state. So that's a pretty large population of students who are local. Business, international affairs, and communications are big. Condoleezza Rice is a double alum. Also specialization in hotel, restaurant, and tourism management. One of the few in the country. Honors program and merit scholarships. It's moderately selective. They have D1 hockey, which is pretty big there. And first years live in living learning communities. Winter sports rule as mountain resorts are a short hour away. Greek life is strong, which usually means that probably 40 to 50% of their students might participate in Greek life. And that might have a pretty big impact on how you interact with your classmates at this university.
I think I'm up for the last one, right? School number 7, located in a college town, this public university, so it's part of a state system, is roughly 2 hours away from a major city. The most popular majors are business, social sciences, and communications, though the school offers about 100 distinct majors. There are 2 theaters and multiple studios on campus, and a museum of art, which holds a collection of more than 5,000 works of art. With just over 6,200 students, so again, that medium size, and Division III athletics, this university is a hidden gem, offering great value to in-state students.
Also lovely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you've seen all of your schools. Well, now you know. But we want you to take a minute or two to think about which school fits you the best, which was your number one. Think back to the descriptions of all the institutions, and pick a school that really fits what you think you want right now. Which one sounded the most exciting to you? And we'll give you a few minutes. Maybe Ms. Middleton, can we have a little music?
Mm-hmm. We can do that. Start from the beginning.
And feel free to ask questions in the chat if you have some. So maybe we can see if somebody in any of the rooms or maybe we can see if anybody in any of the rooms would like to offer up what they chose or why, or maybe somebody who's at home would like to unmute themselves. Anybody, anybody? Oh, we can't hear you. Someone is speaking.
Mr. Leong said, I think he said, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, we'd love to hear if somebody wants to share which choice they had and why they chose that particular school, which number 1 through 7. All right.
Okay, so I I chose number 3 because they have an architecture program, and I didn't see what like name it was.
Great. You're not supposed to see, but that architecture program. All right. So we've got 1 for number 3. Anybody else? Mr. Mabry, can somebody in your room share?
Can I say it? Number 5.
Why number 5?
Because it's like nice, it's outdoors, and it's strong in art, which I'm interested in that. And yeah, it's an hour drive from LA, which is pretty cool.
Okay. Nice, nice. That big city call. Jackson in the chat's not a fan of any of them. What was unappealing, Jackson? What wasn't working for you? Or what was missing? Oh, not offering the programs. You're like, well, I think one thing to consider is that even if we didn't mention the specific programs that you might be interested in, one of those schools most likely has something that you're interested in studying. So they all offer, I think every school in that list offers strong programs in the humanities, strong programs in computer science. I would say some of those schools have really, even though only one of those schools has a conservatory on campus for fine arts and music and theater, they all have pretty strong programs in that area as well. One thing that's really nice for you all to think about, because you live in New York City, is that you can actually visit schools that match these schools in some way. So we have, within an hour's drive of New York City, we have a large public university with a campus. We have a couple of small liberal arts colleges. In Manhattan, you can see a women's college. You can see a couple of highly selective universities. There are music conservatories in New York City. So you can actually, if you want to, start to get a sense of what's out there and what kind of campus is appealing to you, you can actually do walkthroughs now of lots of different types of places. Anybody else want to share their picks? So we had 1 for number 5, I think 1 for 3.
I also like number 3.
We have another call for number 3. Is that Oscar?
No, it was me, Michael.
Okay, sorry, I can't see everybody. So another for number 3. Anybody leaning towards number 7?
Never why. Steal, cheat, or drink, unless you're compelled to.
I heard someone say number 1 or 3.
1 or 3. Should we do the reveal again? Mr. Mabry texted me to say, don't right click. Now I know. All right. So if you pick number 1, Then that school was Davidson College in Davidson, North Carolina. It's a small liberal arts school with really strong programs in the humanities and sciences. One of the hallmarks of Davidson College is that they have a really cool program, and it's a merit-based scholarship program called the Belk Scholars. And it's something that provides students with a 4-year fully funded education. Number 2, and then I can keep going or I can stop. Oh, and research money, yes, lots of research money for undergraduate students at Davidson. Colorado College, if you remember, Colorado College is the school where students take one class at a time. And those are called block classes, so block programs, which means for about 3.5 weeks, you'll spend all of your time in one class. The typical schedule, I believe, is 9 a.m. to noon every morning. And then in the afternoon, you have time to participate in clubs and activities, do your homework, have a job. Some of those block programs could include traveling abroad for those 3 weeks. They could include going off into the desert in Colorado, which exists, like they have a separate campus for field study. So there are lots of different options if you're attending Colorado College, even though it may sound limiting to take only one class at a time, it's actually allows students to take many more classes and have a lot of different academic opportunities. Yes, that's actually a really good description. 3 weeks of a really deep spring intensive. Did anybody pick number 3, Northeastern University? So Northeastern University is one of the schools that has a co-op program that's been really popular amongst Berkeley Carroll students. It's a good way, as I said in the chat, to get hands-on experience, but I've also found that many of our students or former students who do a co-op program as a sophomore or junior find themselves employed after college in that same company because they've already shown that they're capable of doing high-level work. Do you want me to keep going?
Yes.
Okay. Number 4, the University of Rochester. So one thing that's really cool about the University of Rochester, it's in Rochester, New York, upstate. It's one of the bigger universities on this list. And that's a school that will allow you to do a 5th year free. So if you get to the end of your 4 years and you think to yourself, there's something else I want to study that I wasn't able to do while I was there. The University of Rochester has a program that will allow students to stick around for a 5th year tuition free to pursue those academic interests. I think it's a strong school for the humanities. We have a lot of students who tend to lean that way for computer science, but they also have a really strong program for advising students who want to go to medical school. And if you are a musician, you might find that doing a dual degree program with the University of Rochester and Eastman School of Music is what you want to do. And we do, as Ms. Middleton put in the chat, we have 2 students enrolling at University of Rochester this year. We actually, I believe, have students at University of Rochester, Northeastern, Colorado College going to Berkeley Carroll this fall. Then the next school is University of Redlands, which is a smaller liberal arts college. They actually have they're doing some pretty cool work around diversity and equity and inclusion work at the school. We do have students there as well. I believe we have 2 students at Redlands. And those students are studying a range of things. We have 1 student who went to study English and another who chose Redlands for computer science. And so it's a small school, but it still offers a wide range of academic programs. One of my favorites is the University of Denver, number 6. And one thing I mentioned in the little blurb that makes the University of Denver really interesting and maybe a little bit different from other schools is that in addition to its quality liberal arts program, its access to classes that are really strong in the STEM fields, and computer science is really big there. They also have a hotel management program and hospitality management program and a culinary school. So if you know that you're interested in doing lots of different things and political science, lots of different things, and you want to be among the Rockies and close to skiing and study culinary arts and maybe do political science, University of Denver is one of the few places in the country where you can have that really strong liberal arts background in addition to more of a pre-professional background, particularly around hospitality management. And then the last school is SUNY New Paltz. And one thing that's really cool about SUNY New Paltz is it's a public institution. So if you are a New York State resident, you'll get in-state tuition. It's a beautiful campus. It's not about 2 hours from here near Mohonk Mountain House, which is my favorite place to be. But one thing that I think students find of value in a school like SUNY New Paltz is that they, again, have access to all of the things that they could possibly want in terms of the academics, but it also has a strong athletics program. There's not going to be a ton of, in terms of financial aid, it's going to be a little bit different because there's a lot of state-related grants that students get. And there's also merit-based aid, but it's more affordable for some students than, say, a Davidson, which is only going to give you financial aid based on your parents' financial needs. So it's also one of the smallest SUNYs in the state. So if you want that small liberal arts college field, but you still want to get the public school price tag and the really good academic program, SUNY New Paltz is a strong one. And lots of research opportunities. There was not an international school in this list. Sorry, Jackson. But there are lots of international universities that Berkeley Carroll students are considering and attend. So we have students at St. Andrews, King's College of London. I think we had someone go to
Queen's University, the University of Guelph.
Thank you. And Trinity College of Dublin. And I think some students have been looking at University College of Dublin, but nobody's attended yet.
And a lot of interest in Toronto and McGill this year, especially.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
What I'd also say too is looking at this list, some of the names might be recognizable, some of them might not. But what I would say is that, as at least in my experience with working with the students, there's going to be a wide range of schools that students look at or that the college counseling office might suggest. And all these schools on this list, I think students have been pleasantly surprised at what they found once they put in the work to do the research. So as Ms. Middleton's been saying in the chat, and Mr. Young as well too, is this process, there's so many schools out there to not limit yourself, because really you find so many places that are such a perfect fit or a special place. But sometimes it takes a little bit more work to understand what they can offer you as an institution.
The other thing I just want to point out to students is that when I think about, whether or not does a school have a good program in a specific area of study, colleges, they all want to get the strongest students they can get. They all want students who are interested in a wide variety of things. And so they do invest in their programs. So you might have a small liberal arts college that will surprise you with how strong their computer science program is. Or, for example, a school like Union College in upstate New York, which has an amazing engineering program, but it's a small liberal arts college. And so if you want that kind of experience of having an engineering program or being able to study business, but also wanting that small liberal arts college field, you'll find that there are places that are going to provide you with those things. And you may not have heard of them, but that doesn't mean that they're not really great programs. There's a question in the chat. How do you determine a strong program? That is a really good question. I think that requires doing a little bit of research, right? So one thing you'll want to see is what the curriculum in that academic major looks like. You can reach out to the professors to get a sense of how far you can go in that particular program. Sometimes it's helpful to see where the alumni go work. So if you have a bunch of alumni who have gone off to work at Google or Apple, it suggests that that program does a really good job of preparing their students to go off and work in the tech world. So a good program, that's subjective. You might, for a Berkeley Carroll student, you might say, well, I've already had a chance to take this set of courses. I want to go even further. So maybe you say, I want a program that actually will allow me to do my undergraduate degree and a master's degree in this particular area of study in 5 years, because you already know that you're sort of ahead of the game. But I think asking a lot of questions of the admissions office, asking questions of people in in that particular program, they'll be so happy to talk to prospective students because anybody wants to know if they see what the future of that program looks like.
I'd also say a lot of programs are designed pretty similarly, and you have to be at a place that makes you happy. So you're going to be, when you go to college, you're basically going to be living there and for 24/7, like, and that's basically your life. So you can have a great in-school experience with a great program, but then the social aspect or atmosphere of your school might not complement that. And I think a lot of times you can Google like best programs in this, and usually the first thing that's going to pop up is US News and World Report, which when you really understand how they do those rankings, it never really takes into consideration how happy is the student. It's usually like, what's the most selective program? What's the SAT score? And it's usually a numbers game. But when you think about like all the other schools that are out there, the reality is they don't land on that list because of, say, like numbers or the way that metrics land, but they have really great programs with really happy students. And to kind of circle back with what Jackson just asked about, if you want to go to a really prestigious school, sometimes that's the reality, right? Sometimes the student wants a Yale or Harvard or a Oxford or things like that. And you can definitely aim for those things. And a lot of students can definitely attain that. But the reality is what we do as our job is we have to balance your list, because if a school is the best school or the most prestigious, typically that means it's the most selective, not necessarily the best school. The best school is going to be subjective for each person. So we try to expose our students to reach schools, which are going to be typically most selective schools, middle schools, which are more, you're right on target with your numbers, and then foundation schools, which are schools that in terms of numbers, it's predicted to go quite well. But then really kind of researching this entire list to realize which is the school for you. And sometimes it is that most prestigious school and you can take a shot at that school and apply. And depending if you get in or not, admissions is never guaranteed. So that's why you always have to have other schools that you like locked and loaded and ready to go, because admissions very much is an abstract gray area of something we cannot predict. But I think it's completely valid to be aiming for a particular school because that might be the school for you.
And I think, like we said, you might have found that for some of you, you liked several of those schools on the list, right? For different reasons, but they're all selective in different ways. Davidson is probably the most selective on that list. And New Paltz, while they admit more students than Davidson, doesn't make it any less of a strong program. So selectivity, like how many students they admit, doesn't equate to whether or not it's a good school or has good programs, right? You want to look a little bit deeper beyond the surface of how many students the school admitted in a given year. All right. 5 minutes to spare. We're here for any questions you may have, or you may want to give you a little bit of time to get to your next class.
Enjoy your day, everyone. Thank you.